October 20th, 1967, me and Roger were riding up the creek in Bluff Creek, and we looked past the root ball to our left, and up stood this creature. Now, you all know the story from here, but this is the confession. So, when I chased this creature up the bowling alley just after the sandbar there, she kind of put her two hands on this log and started to bend over and shake her rear end there profusely, and I saw those Bigfoot cheeks clap. And I looked back, and Roger, he was doing some relaxed dance, and he said, "Now everybody in the club getting tipsy." I'm not sure what that meant. And, well, all I thought was, they really are real. They really do exist. So that's the confession, and Russell Accord can suck my...
So you get high and then you put other people who smoke weed in jail?
Duh.
That's so hypocritical.
Hey, oh, yeah? Hey. Well, let me ask you something, Kumar. You like giving hand jobs?
No, sir.
You like getting hand jobs?
Yeah.
All right, well, that makes you a fucking hypocriticizer, too. So shut the fuck up and smoke my weed.
Well, that's one way to start the show. Stop being a hypocriticizer, and smoke my weed too. Yeah, welcome everybody to the Squatchers Lounge podcast. If you are under the age of 13, go ask your parents if they love you instead of watching the show, because, well, this one just probably isn't for you. Yeah, hoaxers, the breakdown. What makes them do it? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. I was on a couple of shows this weekend, and it appears that I have somehow pissed a bunch of people off. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how do you keep putting everything together after 10 seasons. After the 10th season is coming up, we're gonna have a whole brand new lookout as to that's going on. Yeah, dude, I'm just gonna tell you like this, bro. Yeah, no, absolutely not. I can't. Not as far as I can throw him on a good day, and that's still not very far. Would I trust that man? I wouldn't trust him with the color of salt. Just period. Somebody like this who destroys every group they have ever been in from within doesn't deserve to have anything set aside. So if that's what you're looking for, I can promise you, not gonna happen. And he does it for profit. I do it simply because I'm tired of the crap. Anyhow, we'll get to that in just a little while. Yeah, it's kind of crazy and all. Hoaxing. What exactly is hoaxing? Hoaxing is the intentional attempt to fool a group of people into believing an event is true when it's not. For example, worldwide or a nationwide hoax happened. When Orwell did War of the Worlds, people actually thought that aliens were landing and taking over America and destroying things as they were doing so. due to a radio broadcast that was disguised as a hoaxed news broadcast. So, it's not just Bigfoot that, has this whole issue with people with people hoaxing things. The UFO community, paranormal community, the paranormal community in being specific was a Halloween event. The TAPS crew, the Roto-Rooter turned paranormal crew, Grant something or other. I can't remember his name. I was going to call him Imahara, but that's the kid from Mythbusters that passed away, unfortunately. Grant something or other, toilet unstopper guy, literally hoaxed being touched and his jacket being manipulated on a national live broadcasted TV show, simply for the notoriety of it. Other hoaxes, the UFO boy, or the balloon boy, I'm sorry, the balloon boy that supposedly climbed aboard a great big balloon that his daddy was blowing up in the backyard and blew away. I want to say it was over Texas somewhere, and they spent the entire day looking for this kid who was really just like, yeah, Orson Welles, not Orwell. Well, I just shortened it to Orwell. You're right. But sorry. Orson Welles did the not George Orwell or whatever the hell his name was. Trust me, I have you see this? I have notepads, okay? I have notepads upon notepads of crap that I have to write down because I suffer from CRS. Can't remember shit. And the older I get, the worse my CRS program actually happens. It gets worse. It worsens. It absolutely does. But what makes people hoax them? I was on with Nikki of the Hairy Man Hoaxers and Hoodwinks. Hairy Man Hoaxes and Hoodwinks. Yeah, there it is right there. If you haven't seen that show, you should go over and give them a subscribe and take some time to watch some of their shows, because she had people like Rick Dyer on, and he was scarily honest about a lot of things. And after I did her show, I skipped over to Steve Cole's show, the Squatch TV, the Squatch Detective Show. And that was all going on during the Kentucky tornadoes. So that was a little bit of a weird event. But we got to talking about some other hoaxers and why they do things. And Steve had brought up the idea that, just because they're a hoaxer doesn't make them a bad person. And that was one of the things that I had to think about since then till now, because my response to him was simply, it depends on what they did the hoax for. A guy that goes into a convenience store and sticks a quart of milk in his jacket and walks out without paying for it because he's got a starving kid at home and doesn't have any money and needs some milk. Is he a thief? Is he a criminal? Yes. Does it make him a bad person? Not so much. If the same guy goes into the same convenience store and sticks a knife or a gun in the clerk's face and cleans out all the alcohol, all the tobacco he can carry in the cash drawer, and then goes and buys a quart of milk for that starving kid at home, that guy is a bad person. Not only a criminal, but he's also a bad person at the same time. So you kind of have to look at, you break down what the hoax was really about to try and kind of identify or understand the reasoning behind it. Like Ray Wallace. Now Ray Wallace was a infamous jokester. It wasn't just Bigfoot. It was UFOs. It was paranormal stuff. It was anything he could do to get a rise out of people. He would do that. And, so the fact that he carved out these big fake boards after the fact that Jerry Crew found the footprints in 58, and started to fake the tracks around that area with some of the construction crew as just a way to dick with them in the long and the short of it. He just wanted to get a rise out of people. Does that make him a bad person? I wouldn't say necessarily that, that no, it wouldn't make him a bad person. But then you have to look at somebody, in the modern times that's hoaxing for the simple purpose of profit. You take somebody like Rick Dyer, who purposefully lied to everybody, took money based upon those lies, and then didn't deliver the product that he took the money for. That is such criminal activity. I don't know why he wasn't prosecuted for fraud. I really don't know why people didn't push that and have him at least arrested or investigated into it, but I digress. How he got away with that, I don't really know. But does that hoax make him a bad person? Well, the Georgia hoax would have probably just gone off as a ha ha ha, we got you, if somebody like Tom Biscardi didn't get involved with it. But then Tom Biscardi gets involved with the hoax and goes, fellas, if you just follow my lead on this, we can probably make a whole bunch of money. There's money to be made here. There's this thing out there called alien autopsy, and we're gonna do a Bigfoot autopsy. So you just play along here, and you get people who do it specifically for the means of cash. Are they doing it to get one over on the community? No, that's what Rick Dyer said, that he was, the Bigfoot their community is so gullible. I can go ahead and do this another time and nobody is going to even doubt me again. They'll swear up and down that it's a real Bigfoot. And sure enough, God damn it, if he didn't do that, he brought another hoax to the community and people ate it up as though it was legitimate. And the mind of the hoax believer, I will never understand. Shame on, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, go fuck yourself. Like, yeah, I'm going to make your life fucking miserable. You try to do it to me a second time. It gets to the point that a lot of researchers will go a lifetime, and I do mean an absolute lifetime of failure in the Bigfoot world. Peter Burns is one of those people whose his entire life has been dedicated to the discovery of Sasquatch, to which he's never publicly at least admitted that he's ever seen one. A lot of researchers can't go that kind of length of time with that much failure, and then they end up resulting in creating evidence more so than necessarily trying to create a hoax, even though at the same time it does get labeled into that way. A lot of people, a lot of the researchers that do that type of thing do it just to get the attention that they so desperately think that they deserve for the amount of effort that they put into it. Now, it's not good to talk about the dead. We know that. None of my ancestors like it either. But you take somebody like Tim Fasano. Now, Steve asked me while I was on the show, was Tim Fasano really a hoaxer? Tim Fasano took a picture of a hog in a swamp and presented it as if it was a skunk ape picture, knowing full well of what the animal was in that picture. He did it for notoriety, attention, and hopefully monetary gain. Does that make him a hoaxer? When he got caught with it and didn't admit to it, absolutely it did. Did it make him a bad person? I don't know. That's not really. I'm MK Davis, and that's for you to decide. No, I'm not MK Davis. I'm not Johnny Cash either. But I mean, you kind of get my point. I don't want to really pick and choose, who's a good hoaxer and who's a bad hoaxer, because hoaxes, period, are just, they're the bottom of the barrel. Like, I can't trust anyone to be a legitimate investigator once they've been part of a hoax. You take like that whole Expedition Bigfoot crap out there on the Dude Ranch. when we broke all of that down, it didn't matter to a lot of people because, well, Russell Accord, he must be somebody important because he's on TV. And, since he's on TV, it's just, well, he's got to be important. He's got to know his stuff about Bigfoot. Does he? I mean, they lied to you about the Cinnabar mine. It was actually a gold mine. They lied to you about the cemetery. It's actually marked in the location to where the cemetery. I mean, they lied to you about everything in that show, but yet somehow they're still pulling season 2 and season 3 out of it. It's just like, I don't understand where we are, how they continue to be free to run rampant. You take Todd Standing. Todd Standing is another one. Todd Standing did it specifically for fame, attention, and the hopes of monetary gain. That's why he released his ultimate footage, never seen before, only in theaters. After my talk, you have to listen to me talk for 25 or 35 minutes, and then I'll let you see this video of the Flock Muppet and Mechanical Blinky. You've heard all the Christmas grapes like, oh, why don't my eyes have eyelids? And gee, my hair is so pretty, it must be Brill Cream. Followed up by, my face is so black with no hair on it, I'm not sure if I'm a monkey or a mask. I mean, these are just the things that you have to kind of ask yourself. You get so jaded after a while that you just immediately think that everything is fake until you can look deep enough into something that the telltale signs aren't there, and you start to look elsewhere. And you know what? With that, let's go ahead and take a break because I need to recollect my thoughts on this. It is time for a quasi theory. By the way, Dean is still with us. Dean is in rehab. He had some time in the hospital, another surgery. He's at the rehab facility. He will be coming home again. And he'll be with us once more. So we'll all wish the quasi man himself a good recovery and a happy whatever you celebrate. I think he's a Hindu, a Buddhist. That's what it is. So let's take a listen to a quasi rerun of what we see. And now, quasi theories from a quasi scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Why we don't see the squatch in front of our nose, or you can't see the trees with all that forest in the way. The Reverend Jeff suggested I do a quasi on why we can't see things that are physically there, like maybe a Sasquatch hiding behind a bush that is too small for it to hide behind. I quote him, "How about a quasi on what the mind sees it doesn't really see? It only sees what it wants to, and why many Bigfoot go unnoticed as the brain can't acknowledge what it sees." I Googled about for a good half an hour and found no evidence to support his theory, at least not in terms of actually not visually seeing an object because you don't believe that type of object exists. Humans are pretty good at not recognizing social conditions they think don't exist, as in not recognizing that people born poor simply don't have the same opportunities as people born middle class. But physical objects are not blocked by disbelief. You might interpret something you see to be something else, like the mommy who sees her beautiful baby, while onlookers wonder where she got that ugly little ape from. No, you don't see the squatch squatting behind the too small shrubbery for the same reason you got hit by a car while texting while crossing the street. Your attention was elsewhere. Your attention is rather like your eyesight. The only thing in clear focus is in the central part of your total field of view. The stuff off to the side gets fuzzier, and when you get to the edges, it's almost not visible. Or think about hearing things. If you are watching TV and the action has really got your attention, and your significant other is asking you to let the dog out, do you hear them right away? Not until they yell at you and get right up in your face does your attention turn to what they are saying. So, You're strolling through the forest and it's cold or it's hot or the bugs are biting or the trail is rough or you're listening for wood knocks and whoops or prints or oddly stacked broken branches just when you pass that almost obvious Sasquatch. If it doesn't jump up and go ooga booga, you'll probably just waltz right on by it. You weren't paying attention. You may read the text of this on my blog at bhaideen.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Well, there you go, the bhaideen.com. Yeah, I mean that's kind of, he got the gist of what I was of what I was trying to push through on that particular quasi. The idea of taking a walk in the woods isn't really necessarily that great of an idea. Taking a sit in the woods, however, you'll see a lot more if you sit down and actually wait for things to start moving around you. It's very, very strange the way that actually turns out. Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and give some shout outs. Let's see who is hanging out with us in the live hangout tonight. If you haven't said hi yet, I would probably suggest it. Otherwise, I won't know you're here. Bodine, Bodie. Hello there, Bodie. I'm glad you are with us tonight. There's the Aaron and the Mary Duncan. We have decided on where the June trip is going to be base camped out of. It is going to be on the 96 up there past Willow Creek. It's going to be halfway between Willow Creek and the film site. Campsites are $25 for tents, up to 3 tents. And RV spots are $35 with hookups. They have flushing toilets. They have showers. And it's a very easy shot down to Willow Creek to do all the cool Bigfoot thingies that are down there. It's right on the Klamath River. And there's some Bigfoot history all around that particular campground and in that site. It's run by the Yurok tribe, so it's a Native American destination. I'm not sure if it's on their reservation or not. So that's where we're doing it. Reservations are done through email. Get a hold of me. And if you want to go, we can have up to 3 tents on our campsite. So, it's not you don't have to do. The only cost is what it costs to go camping. I mean, we don't charge anything, so it's going to be it's going to be a really fun time. We're going to take that hike down to the film site, the Patterson-Gilman film site, and we should, I'm pretty sure, have an escort on the Friday down to the film site itself by one of the Bluff Creek Project guys. Probably Rowdy will join us, but we'll see come time. Moving right along, the Scottish Wildman. Hello, the Scottish Wildman. Glad you are with us. Ken the Blanking. Hello there, Ken. Glad you are here as well. Shane Barber's in the house. Hello, Shane. Glad you joined us tonight as well. As there's the Root Man. Ken. Oh my God. It's all over my microphone every week, every time that guy shows up. Hey, buddy. Glad you are with us. There's Rod Dupree. He's always in a place to be, of course. Cameron Young from the Great White North. Yes, for sure. It is the Great White North. Let's see here. Who else is hanging out with us tonight? There's the Brown Dwarf. Hello, Glenn. Glad you are with us, sir. Eric, the artist formerly known as Rick the Picklehead. I think it was. I'm not sure. Hello. Glad you are with us as well. Harry Man, Hoaxes and Hoodwinks. Hello, Miss Nikki. Glad you are with us tonight. Jolly Jake Lovell. Hello there, Jolly Jake. That's right. Better to be pissed off than be pissed on, although depends on whether you're on fire or not. Karen Lee. Hello, Karen. Glad you're with us tonight as well. Moving on down the list here, the Tall Ones. Hello there, the Tall Ones. Glad you are checking in with us tonight as well. Timmy Boy, there, he's finally catching it live tonight. He's been binge watching the channel since I did the shows over the weekend. Glad you are catching up there, sir. Let's see here. There we go. Heather Lindell. Hello there, Heather. Glad you are with us tonight as well. Tommy from Boston. Hello there, Tommy. Yeah, we're all perpetuating a fraud in one way or another. You know, it's called being human. Cameron says that Marks told Byrne he had film and would give it to him for a certain amount of money. When Byrne went to open the film canister playing Marks, there was nothing in the canister. I thought that was the one that Ivan Marks sold him, like a reel of Mickey Mouse. There was definitely no Bigfoot footage, but I'm pretty sure there was some footage of Mortimer Mouse in the can. It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Fraud standing, that guy. Whew. Fenrir the Wolf, hello. And Todd Standing has the best footage since Patterson. Well, I'm not going to disagree that he has HD footage of something, but it's definitely not of Sasquatch. Marvin Martinez, hello Marvin, glad you are with us from Virginia. James the Grower's in the house with us. Hello there, sir. I'm glad you're with us. Let's see here. Somebody was asking me. I don't know who it was. Let's see here. I saw. Hey, Alan Hinches, how you doing there? Glad you are joining with us tonight. Let's see. I saw something. Somebody was asking me about snow, and yes, no, Tish Tang is not the campground. Glenn Brandorf. And yes, we are getting snow, like 60 to 80 inches on all the northern passes. You basically have to go down to Bakersfield to be able to cross over from California into another state at the moment. Getting into Nevada is nearly impossible. You might be able to go through the Bakersfield Pass and go into Las Vegas, but that would be about it. Let's see here. I think not sure. I missed a question there somewhere, but I'm pretty sure it was a snow question. Anyhow, California Pickin's in the house. Hello there, California Pickin. Glad that you have joined us as well tonight. So yeah, back to it a little bit, with the whole hoaxers breakdown. You've never been to America, but you've been in some states. That doesn't make any sense. If you've been to some states and you've definitely been in America, I'm not really sure. Ivan Marks is another pure example. Ivan Marks is definitely one of those. Yeah, state of confusion. Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. Ivan Marks was one that did it for pure fame and monetary gain. I mean, the whole Cripplefoot. Basically, he had made a documentary where he followed Cripplefoot from Florida all the way, and then found him again in Alaska along their migratory pathway, as if a crippled bipedal animal that could barely hop around in a field would somehow be able to walk thousands of miles along the worst territory ever and end up like a goose in Alaska somewhere. But the weird thing about it is the dude went to these locations and actually filmed it. I mean, he filmed in Alaska. He worked for Disney. He filmed a bunch of their wild animal stuff, their cougar stuff, their wolf stuff. A lot of their wild. Him and his wife Peggy were like serious friggin'. They were just. Yeah. Everybody says that Marks was a good guy, was a nice guy, but he was just a complete bullshit artist. But he was trying to hoodwink people for money, and that's where I have to draw that line. I mean, there's a lot of, investigators out there who invent evidence in such a way that they get the attention that they want, and then they have to go deeper and deeper into it. Do you call somebody like Magic Johnson, like Matthew Johnson? Do you call him a hoaxer? I do. I have to say that Zorth and the saving of 25,000 Sasquatch creatures from a dying planet by coming through a portal using a Tesla designed machine to keep it open, but shuts down by a flashlight and is guarded by 3-foot glowing-eyed demons that Adam Davies and somebody else did battle with for 3 days. I mean, to perpetrate something God, with so many layers, how do you battle that? How do you absolutely battle that? I don't know. I don't know how to battle the hoaxers. That becomes a problem. You shame them. You shame them out of the community. I mean, that's really what you have to do. You do. You have to shame them out of the community so that no one ever takes them seriously again. And it's like the boy that cried wolf. That kid doesn't get to watch the sheep anymore. Okay, that kid gets to scoop up horse poop. That's what that kid gets to do. He doesn't get to watch the sheep and scream wolf anymore. It's time. It's done. Sasquatch Ontario is another one. Christopher Noel. We talked about that guy. Christopher Noel, in the beginning, he tried to do some serious investigative work, and then, just went down the woo path as though these creatures are supernatural of some sort. They have all these supernatural abilities to be able to disappear and manipulate matter, even though they can't be seen. They're vibrating at a different frequency than what our eyes can detect, and our matter can't interact with theirs, but yet they can somehow manipulate a marble. Marble, Mike. I mean, it just, I don't know. I can't tell you what makes people hoax anything more than sheer failure. I really do think that that's why the hoaxing really, really, really is, that's the root of it all, is how many times can somebody fail before they finally just create something so that they're important. And I don't understand the importance need of this. I wish people would get off that you're a special little snowflake. You're a special little snowflake. You're one of a million. No, you're not a special little snowflake. You're a point on the end of a snowflake where there's a million other little points on it. Get in friggin' line and let's get something done. Drew asked me, what do I think of Steve at How to Hunt? That was what we actually did most of the show on with Steve Coles last week. If you pop over to his channel and check it out, we did talk about the How to Hunt guy, and he's full of shit. I mean, he's using hoax pictures and kind of claims that they're his, and then when they're asked about it, he doesn't make any comments that they're not. He's used Mark Anderson pictures. He's just, his whole channel is much like Pac West Bigfoot. In the beginning, Pac West Bigfoot was out there just kind of acting like all of these were real stories, and now he's come forward and said, like I did, that these are embellished stories of Bigfoot that people like, and this is why I do that. Where How to Hunt guy is, he's getting all these emails, but he doesn't say where they come from. He never actually talks to any of these people. There's no interviews with any of these people. Now he's right. He wrote a book, and so now he's a Bigfoot author. His channel doesn't have jack to do with How to Hunt anymore. So it's just crazy how to the How to Hunt guy just, how he's getting the following that he is. It's a lot like, Sasquatch Chronicles. Their whole introduction to the Bigfoot world was a hoax, was a complete fabrication. There was absolutely no truth to it. Yet they have one of the largest followings in the Bigfoot community, and 90% of what goes on their channel is bullshit to begin with and to end with. And yet, this is what the people cry out for. This is what the people follow. And I'll never understand that need for the that need for I need to be important. We're all looking for the same answer, and if we could all just learn to cooperate with one another and actually investigate and share real, true information. Like I said the other day, I know more about what's not Bigfoot than I do about Bigfoot, and that's after 25 years of trying to figure it out. So, after 25 years of figuring it out, I know a whole lot more about what isn't Bigfoot than what is Bigfoot. But, we're never going to get anywhere with all of this garbage mixed up in between, because anytime somebody with any money, with any kind of research project that they want to get into the middle of this and actually put some money behind it, then you end up with people like Todd Standing leading the way. How does that guy get the money to take, Meldrum and Bendernagel out into the field? How does he get that attention to be able to write the checks to Meldrum to get him to lend his credibility to him for all this time? Cameron was talking about the Sierra Sounds, after hearing about the Sierra Sounds on another podcast, he's actually changed the tune about them a little bit. That's another one that, the big deal of the 67 film was dying down, and somebody sees the opportunity to invest a little bit of time and energy into creating something that they believe that the world, it's not just the Bigfoot world at that time, that it was the entire world was going to the entire world was going to take notice to it. That's the importance level. I mean, Ron Moorhead was independently wealthy. I mean, he didn't really do it for money, but then there was the book deal and the records and the CDs. And now there's another book, The Quantum Bigfoot. Yeah, exactly. It really starts to get down to a point that, you have to look at the ending of the individual's path to kind of make a real decision about their start. When somebody like Ron Moorhead, who for years I was on my first California Bigfoot trip when the investigator I was with busted out the Sierra Sound CD and put it in the drive, and we're listening to this going up the road. He's like, "Isn't that incredible? Isn't that like the most incredible thing you've ever heard?" And I looked at him like he was crazy. I'd never heard them before, and I was like, "You think that's what a Bigfoot sounds like? That sounds like some drunk hillbilly messing with somebody in the woods is what it sounds like." And we listened to this CD. It was actually two of them, and for hours we drove north and listened to these Sierra Sounds. And I got to tell you, there wasn't a single thing about the story, about the actual recordings, nor about any of the research that I did into the investigation that I did into them afterwards that makes me ever believe that any of that was real. I honestly think that it's the look at me syndrome. And the more that people look at them, the more hoaxing will end up going on. It's very, very, very strange how that turned out. Yeah, Bodie, they did that Bigfoot North. I mean, how does the Bigfoot anthropologist foot doctor end up doing a weekly podcast with somebody who's already done 2 hoaxes in the field of study that the anthropologist is trying to prove is a real thing? where did that money come from? And it had to have been enough money to make him sign a non-disclosure agreement, because he still won't admit that Todd Standing's videos are ridiculous. Meldrum and I have gone back and forth in public a few times. I've got him to admit a few things that he won't stand directly behind them, but he does not declare that they are a hoax of any kind. But yet he's ready to jump on the hoax wagon on plenty of other things when people ask him of his opinion. But when it comes specifically to Todd Standing, well, I don't really have an opinion on any of those things. I can't prove that they're hoaxes. I'm like, okay, well, the fact that the first one doesn't even have any eyelids and apparently went through cleft lip surgery tells me enough that it's not real. And you're a doctor of anthropology and somehow can't tell that Sasquatch don't have cleft lip surgeons running around the woods to fix their cleft lips. But apparently that doesn't matter to him. All right, I'm going to wrap this sucker up. It is already that time of the evening, man. It just goes by quick when you're sitting here mumbling to yourself. Thank you guys so much for interacting with me in the chat room here, because otherwise I would be completely lost at times. I absolutely would be. I do have a Bigfoot campfire story for you tonight. And the Reverend Captain Two Gun Kelly's cryptid tales of horror are coming. They are being developed, and hopefully I will have all that stuff ready to go for the beginning of the year. I just couldn't do it after surgery. I wanted to, but it just didn't happen. So if that's it for this evening, we want to thank everybody for being here. Yep, a campfire story. We sure have one. We will see you next week. I think. What's next week? Next week is the 22nd. Yeah, we'll have a show next week. And until then, may the Squatch be with you. Welcome to another season 2 episode of Bigfoot Campfire Stories. This story was just passed to me a week or so ago from a fan of the show. Eric and John went camping in the Los Padres National Forest near Wheeler Springs in Southern California when an unexpected crossing changed everything they knew about the great outdoors. Let's hear their story. Back in 2008, I went on a camping trip with my Uncle John. He was a huge outdoorsman type. We went to Wheeler Springs in Los Padres National Forest. He wanted to teach me about camping and surviving off the land and such. He had picked me up that afternoon with a big smile on his face, as survival camping was one of his favorite things to do. It took us a while to get into the camping spot John had picked out for us, as it was a bit off of the beaten path, but that was the idea, to be completely secluded. We got to the camp about 3 hours before dark, so we had to hustle to get the tent and camp set up properly before the sun went down and get a good fire going. It was a lot more work than I had expected, but it was a huge blast at the same time. We could tell that no one had been to this location in quite some time, as we had to move a couple of seriously large logs out of the way on the way in, and everything was pretty grown up around the location. We sat and talked at the camp until way into the night. The first night was pretty uneventful until about 1 a.m. when I woke up and heard rustling in the bushes. Uncle John had said it must have just been bears looking around. The next morning, we awoke to the oddest sounding call at the edge of camp. Well, I got up and got dressed quickly to find out what the source of the noise was, and sure enough, found Uncle John watching a bear cub in camp. Just wandering around, he watched the cub for about 20 minutes before we heard a louder, bigger call, and the cub just ran off and left. Well, that afternoon, Uncle John took me up to the ranger station. There was this Chumash Indian lady there who told us stories about Sasquatch. She said the mountain devils were known to be all about these parts, and you can tell that they really don't like you as they scream out in the night nonstop until either you leave or they silence you. She called them something else, but I can't exactly remember what she called them. She said that they were in the area and to be very careful at night. We had hiked all throughout the day and seen many of the wild natural animals in the area. It truly was teeming with life. And again, we got back to camp just a few hours before dark and set the firewood up for the night, ate by the fire, and of course, the stories of the old Indian woman told us came up. Neither of us knew what to think of them, but wasn't really going to keep us from sleeping, and we weren't about to pack up and go home on storytelling. It was very odd, though. After we went into the tent, all night we heard the strangest whoops and grumbling sounds. Neither of us knew what they were, but after hearing the bear cubs so odd sounding this morning, we agreed it had to be something natural. It was about 2 a.m., and the sounds had quieted down for quite a while. I told John I had to pee, so I walked out of camp to use the restroom. The whole time I was walking, I had the feeling someone was watching me. Like when you're sitting somewhere and you can feel someone staring at you, and sure enough, when you look around, you find that person just burning a hole into your soul for some unknown reason. It was like that. But I kept walking, thinking maybe there was another camp nearby, or maybe it was another camper, although we knew that that wasn't the case. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I see something moving about 20 feet ahead of me. So I flashed my flashlight ahead of it, and sure enough, it was a mother Sasquatch with a small baby on her chest, and what I would guess would be a toddler on her side, holding her hand. The toddler was just under her hip, so I would say it was probably about 3 feet tall, covered in a medium colored brown hair. The babies were lighter colored fur, much lighter than the mother's fur was. She was a bit taller, probably 6.5 feet tall, and she was a dark brown with a silver streak growing down her back that started kind of at the front of her head at her brows. She froze for a moment, pushing the toddler behind her, and then let out a howl like I had never heard before. Well, the next thing I knew, there was another Sasquatch that came running out of absolutely nowhere, waving its arms at me. It was so fierce, so much so that I really don't know where the other Bigfoot went. They were just gone. This larger Bigfoot came screaming into the location, sounding so loud I could barely gather a thought. I couldn't tell you how big the third one was, or whether it was even male or female as it charged me. It just came so fast that when it finally stopped, I turned, screamed, and went running back to Uncle John the entire way. Well, Uncle John sprung from his tent in protection mode, wearing nothing but his boxers and his boots, a flashlight in one hand and the axe in the other hand, ready to do battle with whatever foe may be afoot, when I caught my breath and I began to explain what I saw. I'm not even sure that he believed me or not, but every noise in the woods, he went to investigate, and neither of us went back into the tent that night. Well, everything had finally calmed down, and the sun had just begun to rise, and the only thing in our minds was to go ahead and pack up camp and head for home. Before he would leave, Uncle John had me show him where I saw the creatures, and then sent me back to the truck. I'm sure he wanted to believe me. I was sitting in the truck for about 10 minutes again when I heard that god-awful scream, and a second later, Uncle John was panting at the door, jumping into the truck and tearing out of the campsite with some speed. He looked over at me and said, "I'll never doubt you again, kid." And within a short time, we were back on the asphalt roads and home once more. I still go camping with Uncle John now and then, but we pick much less secluded locations, and we've never seen anything like them again. Well, these campers doubted the old Indian woman stories and found out firsthand how scary the mountain devils can be up close. Maybe one day we can all be that lucky. Thanks for watching. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.